Hello friends, my name is Bintou and welcome or welcome back. If you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button. I upload new videos every Wednesday and some Saturdays. All right, so the topic of today's video is minimalism and books. And the reason that I wanted to record this video is because someone left a comment in one of my videos and mentioned something about the sort of minimalistic style that I used to shoot. And I've joked about this in a video in the past. I don't have like a bookcase of books that I sit in front of and film in front of because I don't have that. Now, I love watching bookshelf tours and I've watched a number of them and I love watching book hauls. However, the reality is in my personal life, I don't actually own any physical books and I want that to be reflected in my channel as well. So this sort of aesthetic is pretty intentional. There's not much going on in my background other than I did find some lights to spruce it up a little bit, but generally it's just me talking to the camera and the only thing in focus is me. Now, it's actually quite funny because I generally don't like the camera. So the irony that I am sitting here in front of a camera is not lost on me. But so far, this seems to be the best way for me to talk about books on this platform. I did want to take the time though to explain why I don't own any physical books. And the first thing I want to touch on is just my personal philosophy. Now, I'm not a super minimalist by any stretch of the imagination. I do try to own as little as possible. And I've gone through the fad of Marie Kondo's life-changing magic of tidying up. And I've read about 3 books on minimalism in the past. And I've even watched that documentary on Netflix. And there are parts of it that really resonate with me. And not just in books, but just in general. But the bottom line is, when it comes to books, I take my joy in reading the books and reading the stories rather than in owning the books. And for me, once I've read the book and once I've read the story, or once I've learned what I needed to learn from the book, it has served its purpose and I really no longer need it. So you can see it doesn't really jive with my personal philosophy to have a ton of books in my home. The second reason is simply a matter of practicality and space. So there was a point in my life from undergrad to a few years after it where I was moving basically every year. So, at the start of the academic year and at the end of the academic year, there was that whole move from home to school and school to home. And I had to do a lot of the packing and moving by myself. And it became so stressful and so overwhelming to pack up all my stuff and move them that I naturally began to just have less stuff. And I found that I simply liked having less stuff better. And this was before I knew minimalism was a thing. I was just lazy. And funny enough, I'm gonna be moving again in another month. So it worked out well that I didn't pick up the habit of owning more stuff, even though I am moving much less frequently than I used to. Now, the third main reason is that I don't reread books. The vast majority of my reading is one and done, which makes it even less practical to hold on to things that I'm never going to use again. And the fourth reason is price. Purchasing a bunch of hardbacks is just expensive, especially when comparing it to paperback or Kindle versions of books. Now, I do own a Kindle and that in itself is an investment, but to me, it's absolutely worth it because it keeps me from owning more physical stuff. Kindle books and ebooks in general are cheaper than their hardback counterparts. And even though the Kindle itself is an investment, I still borrow most of my ebooks from the library. So about 90% of the books that I read, I don't pay for anyway. That in addition to the Amazon Prime First Reads and Kindle Unlimited means that overall, the amount of money that I spend on books is very minimal. One of these days, I may actually do a video on how much money I've spent on books this year because I'm interested to know what that tally actually is. Now, in the future, I'm not saying that I will be completely anti-owning books. I think that it's entirely possible for me to have a very, very tiny collection of my absolute most favorite books. The problem is that I would first have to decide what those are. So I actually remembered while filming this that I own one book. This guy right here. So I remember I bought this, it had to have been 6 years ago, and I'm not sure why I still own it. I suppose I just haven't gotten around to donating it to the library. So I guess when the library reopens, I will be back down to 0 physical books. This book, by the way, Tom's River, A Story of Science and Salvation, this was an excellent book. I think that the reason I might have kept it is because I thought that I could possibly use it because it is science related. The book is about a river in New Jersey that was polluted by a bunch of dye companies. And this led to these childhood cancer clusters and a bunch of scientists trying to link the cancer to the company and basically make them pay for the damage that they did. Very fascinating. All right, so that concludes this video. I'm super interested to hear other people's philosophies on owning things and specifically books. So definitely drop a comment below letting me know whether you own 1 book or 100 books and what you may think of my philosophy. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.